Hello, how's it going?
Hello, everyone.
Right, another day, another week, another live. So
yes, and today is a special live.
Yeah, so today we're going to be running through we're basically going to be starting through a website for pretty much the first time. We've got a base level build. We're going to be going through a few.
Hey, Marky.
Hey, Marky. We're going to have a few different elements today. One of them is going to be how to choose the right domain. Another one is going to be going through more about understanding search engine optimization for a website. And what we're going to be doing this specific feature is going to become a monthly feature. So we're going to be revisiting this exact same website each month and going through the steps that we are doing to enhance its SEO journey. We're not probably going to go through in depth of some of those elements, but we're going to do some kind of broad, high level elements of what we're going to do. And we're going to review each month to see how it's progressing. And we're going to show you some of our audit reports that we generally use for our customers, but based on this project, and we can see how that journey has gone so far and what changes and what ideas we're taking in part of that as why we've made these decisions and why we're doing certain parts. Now, if people want to get involved with that process, please do ping in the message chat box. Are you good? So ping in the message chat box is about what you want to, what you feel that might be a more appropriate element, and we can build it together, or ask questions about why we're making certain eventualities. And we go through it from there. No worries, mate. You do some more homework.
So, do you want to pull the site up that we will be looking at?
Yeah. So, before we get to that, I'm going to go through, firstly, a website that I have been brought to my attention a while ago now, which we'll go through. Let me just click on share. Memory says this one had issues last time round, but hopefully
it works this time.
We're good this time. Yeah, that's the hope. Wow, smooth. Okay, so this website's called expireddomains.net. Now, a clever little site. So it's got loads of domains that have, they're no longer active domains that are paid for by a certain person. Now, there is some on here that I go through things like SEO marketplaces where you have to buy them for sometimes fairly large sums of funds. And other times are things that are just in the general market, but they may have information on them. Now, we'll go through now. Look at these with a pinch of salt because some of the URLs are a bit NSFW. And some of them are fine. So what we're going to be going through is you can see here a list of loads of domains. You can see the number of characters in the domains because domain length is a bit of a thing at the moment. External backlinks. We've got domain pop, so backlinks from different domains. We've got what year that the domain first started, so has it got a bit of a pedigree? Number of times it's been crawled on archive. Has it got an Alexa rating, etc., etc., etc. So a fair chunk of information, and these are the ones that I've just dropped in today. Okay. Now, let's say, for instance, all right, pick a subject, Ailey.
Because it's my rabbit's birthday, rabbits.
And what do you want to do with rabbits? Do you want to sell some merchandise? Do you want to sell rabbits?
Yes,
do you want to give information?
Let's sell rabbit merchandise.
Okay, so we'll go for a rabbit in the search. Okay, so this one basically now gives a list of domains that are currently available with the word rabbit in them. So there's a lot of odd URLs into this. We might want to filter it. You might want to only get like .com URLs. Okay. So there's a hell of a lot of domains in here. We'll go for .com. You can also see loads of filters in here about what you might want to do in it. That did not work as a filter. And now we'll go for dictionary. Where is TLDs? I've seen this before.
Nice.
Can't find it. First ends with .com. Let's try again if that works. If not, we'll just do it manually. It's fine. Not liking it. Okay, so that's going to unsearch a rabbit. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through these and we'll find one that we might feel is appropriate. Now, we've got loads of these rabbit ones. You've got rabbit.marketing, if you want to do that one. You've got .wales, .software, .network, whatever. Yeah. We can also see where it's got backlinks. Now, we spoke about backlinks before in the past. So tell me, Ailey, what are backlinks? Why are they important?
So backlinks are other websites, directories, and the likes that refer back to your website. And it's really important because these build trust and it gives that search engine also can index you better as well.
Exactly. Now, imagine you can buy you've got your first, you're going to make your company that's selling rabbit merchandise. Imagine you can buy a domain that already has a chunk of backlinks. Yeah. So we can go here to backlinks and we'll filter to that one instead of the default. Now, look at this one. So the first one we've got is rabbitcreative.com. Yeah. Now this one has 77.7. Well, it's got 77,000 backlinks already. The domain started in 2013, so it's got a bit of a pedigree. You know, it's been around for a while. We can also see that this one is for sale and it's through SEO. Mm-hmm. And if you want to buy it, it's $3,000, so about 2,200 pounds or so. You might not want to look at those statuses. You might want to look at the ones that are available. If they're available, you can get them for the standard price that you can get in more normal shops, and you can buy it through your normal platform, whether that is Namecheap or something similar to those elements. The next one we've got is rabbitbreed.ru. I imagine anything with a .ru right now would not be a good idea. We've got some that might be more pertinent for the industry that we're looking at. Could be something like feedrabbit.com. Virtual Rabbit. Yeah, there's loads of different options in here that we can look at. Let's go for helpingrabbit.com. So this one does have a status for making an offer. It's not available by default. InsaneRabbit.net is available. Hello. If we wanted a InsaneRabbit.net. Do you like InsaneRabbit.net? No? Don't know.
On the fence about it.
Yeah, it's on the fence. So
On the fence.
What we can do is look at InsaneRabbit.net. Now this one has 10,000 backlinks. Mm-hmm. We've got a domain pop of 3, not mega high, but it's helpful. It's been around since 2013. So this one's a decent one. And if we go for this one, let's say we got InsaneRabbit.net. We'll pop over to something like Namecheap, so we can buy a domain. Okay, let's have a look. You okay?
Got our wee sidekick helping us today.
We're talking about search engine optimization today. You know much about it? No? It's fine.
Nope.
I know Google.
You know Google? It's relevant. So here you can see you could buy that one just for £7 for 63 a year. Hey? I know how to get Google. I don't need the support. Okay, we've got additional support now. Thank you. I want to ask you a question. You ready? Okay. How do you find things on the internet?
I have to Google.
Go to Google. Fair enough. Do you ever go to page 2? No? Did you know there was a page 2?
No, I just go straight to page 1.
There you go.
Right. If anyone is listening and they are unsure about their rankings on Google, you've heard it today. If you're on page 2, no one cares.
Yeah.
So yeah, Insane Rabbit, get it for £7.63 a year, and then you've already got all those backlinks built into your site. Now, do check the backlinks. So if you're using something like one of these programs or anything else, check those backlinks. What you don't want, though, is to buy a domain and the backlinks go to, let's call them unsavory websites for the children that are in view today. So we don't want any of those that are in there. Okay? So what we're going to be doing then is running through, basically, we're going to run through a domain that we have already purchased this domain. We got it through this same platform. We brought on board, let me have a quick look, see if I can find that information. We brought her on board, not mega, maybe about 1,000 backlinks or so as part of it. But still good to start with. And then we got it for the standard price, about £10 a year. Nothing crazy. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be running through this website today. Sensitive. Yeah, or the URL is Buy Incense Online, which is selling incense. Pretty much simple as that.
Yep.
So we have got a site that has got some products. We've got some categories, got some featured products. We've got some bottom URLs. There's nothing specifically exceptional about this site so far. It looks nice, but it's not got a hell of a lot of things like content, so there's no real text on here. to really draw anything in. There's no real call to actions anywhere other than this shop now. There's no links to social medias. There's no links in footers, any of this stuff. So we're going to be running through this today to go through some of the elements which are probably pertinent about we should be looking at. Now, first step when we look at one. So firstly, we try and get the right URL, whether that is buying one through a marketplace or we just really want the URL that's going to stand out for our brand or whatever else. The next one is what's the first thing on our list, Ailey, after choosing a domain?
After choosing a domain, we then look at the URL structure.
Yeah. So we'll start looking at the URL structure of this website after the build. So we build it first. We're not going to go through building a website on today's. But when we've done a site, what we've basically got is if we go over to the contacts form, and so you can see the URL structure at the top. So you can see here, buy instance online, @ page ID equals 25. Okay. What is page ID equals 25?
No idea.
No idea. Well, we know now it's the contacts page, but generally speaking, if someone was looking at a URL, they wouldn't have a clue what's going on. Now, search engine optimization doesn't have to be the really complex stuff. If you get the basics wrong, you're also causing problems. Now, the way Google searches for data looks at the words that are on the website, the URL structures, and everything in between. Now, if it says page ID equals 25, you're not telling Google what that page is in any way, shape, or form. So utilize these pages for what they are and put the right names on them. And you can be really clear about that. And Google will also pick up on those key details as well. So what we're going to be doing is, so this one's on a WordPress build. So we're going to be updating it through WordPress and we'll show you how to do those. And really nice and simple, this part. And then we'll go through some more detail about them. Now, if we head over to our administration, we are going to pop over to our settings, permalinks. So this is pretty much the same on every WordPress website. So really nice and easy to set up. Okay, so you can see here we've got some common settings. So this is the default one, which is page ID. Not helpful. We can do date and name. Not really helpful for the way our posts are working. We're kind of probably going to stay just with the standard post name, and it'll name it the name of the post. Similar further down, if we're using something like a WooCommerce build, it'll allow us to also put in additional information about how we want that structure to be run. So whether we want it to be shop, the name of the product category, and then the name of the product, which can work quite well because there's more elements in that URL structure to work with. It really depends on how you want that structure to work. Some do work by default, some don't. You all right? Yeah? Hey, get away. Hey? Okay. Right, sit down and do some work, please. Are you working for us today? You get paid in apples. Right, so we've updated our structure. Now, if we head back to the website, there we go. If we go back to that contact, it'll already have updated the links. So contact. The thing that is important, though, if you are hard coding links on your website, so you're developing your site and you're hard coding something to go to /p = 125 or whatever the ID was, you need to manually make that adjustment, or you'll still be sending it to the other URL. Now, WordPress will still redirect it, but you're still adding additional steps for having that redirect in place. So it's not ideal. So you want it just to go direct to that page rather than forcing redirects back and forth. We can see if we go to the shop. There we go. So we've got our shop of all of our items. We click on one of them. So we look at this URL structure now that we opened up. Let's have a look. All right, so we got shop, incense sticks, Angels Touch incense sticks. So really, really clear of what's going on. Tells Google exactly where we are. It also builds a good URL structure. So ideally, if we remove this, it will also go to a part that's all about incense sticks by default. This is our sales page. So we've got some descriptions. We've got a little bit of additional information. It's not really a lengthy description. Remember that when Google is looking at a website, it is looking at the content on the website. and it's looking at the words that you're using. The more words that you use, the more it's going to pop up and be useful to Google to its indexing. After that, we've got our standard core structure we would have with a site, so we can add it to a basket and go through the relevant steps from there. That's the main parts for the URL structure. We'd also look at changing structures for things like, if we go to our basket, bringing these as part of the right URL structure. So at the moment, the default, it just goes to /basket. But actually, is it part of the shop? And if it is, should it be part of /shop/basket? And it brings it all under the right URL structure. Does that make sense?
That is quite a purchase you've got going on there.
Yeah, I am ready to buy my incense sticks and burners. But yeah, the process after this is pretty much the exact same. And then you'll move it from forwards. Now, what we're going to be looking at next is Ailey. What we got next on our list?
What we have next on our list is SEO/Yoast.
Yeah, so SEO, a fairly large caveat of what we're going on. Now, we use a few different SEO tools. Now, it depends on the platform, whether it's WordPress, whether it's custom or whatever else. We generally utilize for a lot of our clients, the default Yoast plugin, which works fairly well. Some of the other ones have more bells and whistles. This one's a fairly lightweight version, doesn't really slow down the site too much, and it's got a huge amount of options for free for a lot of users if you haven't got the budget to install one straight away or buy one. So what we're going to do is we're going to install our plugin.
And like we said, we're taking you all through this step by step, so you are going to see the installs as well.
So much fun!
So much fun!
I don't know. We have got a crazy child in our office today wreaking havoc. It's just me. We've got two crazy children in the office today wreaking havoc. Okay. Install.
So why would you use Yoast over everything else out there?
It's a good question. So I use Yoast because it does have a large amount of functionality, particularly a lot of free functionality, which some of the other ones have additional costs for. Now, there is paywalls within Yoast SEO, so there is some additional extras that you have to pay for, but you can really get away with using the base default ones without having to pay any extra, and you get the kind of core functionality. You can do some of the other paid elements yourself. Now, we can code it ourselves, what we want to do, so it makes no true odds for ourselves, but our clients, we generally give them a Yoast version if they want to run their own SEO campaigns and run it, and it's a fairly lightweight version in comparison to some of the other ones. Now, we are working on one of our own tools at the moment, which isn't on the list, but right now we utilize Yoast for a large chunk of ours. They keep it fairly well up to date. I mean, last updated 2 days ago, and they keep it well optimized. So that's why we use it.
Yeah, and again, the fact that we're making our own system is another kind of insight into what we develop. And, you know, we don't just develop websites, we also develop plugins, we develop custom software just to make life easier, because even though, yes, Yoast is fantastic at what it does, it is still a third-party plugin. So if there is errors or any bugs in it, there's not much we as developers can do because it's not our own plugin.
Yeah, and I think that's quite important, because I think a lot of the time there's definitely a need a lot of the time to ensure that people's plugins are up to date.
Yes.
But it has a two effect. So the way I generally would say if you're updating plugins is, one, do make sure you are keeping your plugins up to date. Generally, a lot of the fixes, particularly on large systems that are kind of open source like WordPress, a lot of those fixes a lot of the time is generally security-based fixes to make sure that there is no vulnerabilities for people to get into your websites. So definitely make sure that they stay up to date. However, when you test that plugin to update it, don't just update it and assume it's all going to be good. Update it generally in some kind of test environment first if you can, and make sure it's working and the rest of the site is still working accordingly. Yeah. Because not that it happens a lot with some of the larger ones, but some of the smaller companies, if they'll push an update, it may have unforeseen circumstances on your system where maybe you've made customizations, or maybe the plugin wasn't as stable as the developers originally thought.
Yeah.
and then you have issues. So do make sure it's tested before it goes live. And I would say that in terms of any other updates, whether it's a Windows update or whether it's a phone update, make sure it's been tested first before it goes into a live environment.
And we see this a lot in people who have had sites built for them. There's usually some kind of conflicting code when it comes to updates. So they'll update something and then something else disappears or something else breaks. So it is very important to update in a test environment. Make sure everything's working really nicely and then upload it, because you're just going to give yourself a massive headache trying to fix it in a live environment.
Exactly. If we head over to our homepage, first of all, we have now already installed Yoast, and it will now give us some of those tools to be able to review elements of it. So what we see first of all, so this one we use a system called Auction to build our site, but the Yoast will still pick up on some of those elements. So we've got readability analysis is good, SEO needs improvement. We've got our permalink structure. This is where that page would go, which is our homepage. If we've got a featured image, which we haven't, if we allow comments, and if we've got any page attributions, and then anything if we want to append any forms.
Do we need a feature image created?
We can definitely put one up, not a problem. So on the left hand side, we've got our Yoast SEO. Now this one does give us some options, but we have to connect it to external sources for it. But we can do some focused keyword settings. You can also see as a preview what this current website will look like on mobile or on desktop. Okay. We can also see what the default title is. So it's going to be the title, the page, a separator, and the site title. Okay. So you can see here it's the title, which is home. The page, we haven't really got one because it's just the home page. We've got a separator, so the dash, and then a site title. You can amend this, and it'll update the relevant one here. Or we could say, actually, I don't really want the site title in there, or I don't really want a separator, whatever. Or I might even want to change my separator to be in, I don't know, a slash. Whatever it is, that's up to you. Okay? But it gives you that functionality to amend those, and it'll then change the metadata that's in there. For if you're doing the website yourself from like HTML, then you'll have to amend it yourself, whether that is through some PHP code or whether that is manually typed in on each site. We've got our slug. So this is the URL structure, the slug. So we'll go to /home will also work. We can change those. We can actually update a meta description. So when you've got a meta description, you want something that I guess makes sense. This is the meta description is this blurb that you'll be able to see on Google. Okay, so we're just going to wing one at the moment. We're going to put it on our to-do list as well about things that we need to do. Ellie, can you keep a note of some of our to-do list?
Yep, I should.
And we can post them near the end. So what we're going to be looking at is page title, meta descriptions.
Page title and meta descriptions.
Okay, that's not going to be our finalized description, but it gives you an idea about what a description may look like and how it's going to be laid out on Google.
Yeah, so do you want to read out what you've typed in?
Yeah, so we sell all forms of incense burners and sticks that don't just fill your home with lovely aroma, but have additional herbal healing factors.
There we go.
Now, this is one of the first protocols that people will be able to read before they actually click on the link. So do make sure it is catchy, it's got the right keywords, and you're targeting the right audience with that data. Okay. As I said, we'll review this when we get to more of the meta description, which is on Ailey's pad so far. So we can come back to those. And what we're going to be doing is next month, we'll go through some of the list of the things that we've updated during that month. So this is really now a notes section of where we're going to now work out what our next steps are for the month. And we're going to make those adjustments and see what they look like. We can also see we've got SEO analysis. So you can go premium. We don't need to go premium. This is just some elements. Outbound links are really important. It shows that you are pinging to maybe citations, sources, etc. But but also you also want to look at internal links as well. So we've got good result on our internal links. The homepage has links to every category and product, but internal links are important because it also brings a web of where people are going within your website. We've got a key phrase length, so it might need a focus, single title. So H1 should only be used as the main title. So we found multiple H1s, so that needs to be rectified. If you can put that on your list as well, Ailey, multiple H1s. Hey, little man, you done your homework? Nice. Nice. Cool. Another one? Excellent. Right, I'll have a look at those in a bit. We'll do some marking. You want to go do some drawing? You don't know? You can do some drawing. There you go.
How about Dexter tells us a bit about what he knows about websites? That would be fun.
What do you know about websites? Don't know.
Don't know.
There you go. You want to draw some pictures?
We'll train him up eventually.
Anything you want. Even Minecraft. Anything. Okay, so we've got H1s that we need to look at. We've got text length. The text contains 19 words. This is far below the minimum recommended requirements of 300 words. Content is king. We've said it many times. The tools tell us that is king. We need to make sure that there's enough words on there to really sell. So our homepage is definitely lacking in words. I mean, I think it just has the words for the categories and a few products.
So
there's
we
nothing
shall
about
add that to our list.
Definitely update some content on the site. You can also track related key phrases. Now, we don't do it here. We've got some different software to do ours, so we don't pay through Yoast. You can track some keywords by putting them in here, and there's some advanced features further down. I probably won't touch it too much with some of these rote ones. Canonical URL can be quite helpful if the link goes to more than one place, but that's not too bad. All right, cool. Come on, carry on.
Just one thing.
Yeah, carry on.
It's nothing.
Okay. So that is the main part with our SEO elements.
Yep.
So we can save that for now and update it, and we'll put it on our list. And we'll come back to some of those elements later down the line. Very similar in terms of if we head back to our admin. I should go back. We've spoke about this one before, and this is more about content. So one way of getting more people to your site would be things like blog posts.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like an evil apple. An evil apple. Nice. Okay, so we'll edit this one. Incense sticks and cones.
So in this case, will we be adding more blog posts to increase that content?
Exactly, yeah. So we'll be looking at the blog posts that we've currently got available and do we need to be changed. And we'll look at starting to update more blog content regarding anything about the industry, some of the products maybe, some case studies, some reviews, all that stuff to bring people more into it. Now, at the moment, we've got 2, and this one goes into some detail about incense sticks, burners, and stuff. Hey, don't be drawn on. Drawn on? Okay. I'm going to turn into an apple. So,
Hey, get that.
there you go. So we've also got bits about what it's what it can assist with. We can also put in things like FAQs. We want to change these really to be more specific words. So instead of just saying incense sticks, maybe what are the benefits of incense sticks?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that would come back to thinking about your potential clients or audience's search intent. So are they
Exactly.
looking at what is
What, mate?
incense sticks? What do incense
Oh, no.
what do incense sticks do? What kind of scents come from it? You know, what would the average person who's looking for these incense type in?
Exactly, yeah. So if you're focusing on those keywords and you've got an answer with them, you're more likely to pop on the top of Google with those relevant answers. Now, this isn't like a one-stop fix. Now, we do not have anticipations that in a month's time when we come to review, we're going to be the #1 spot on Google. This is a journey and a process. Now, you need to make sure you are cool. You need to make sure you are updating the content regular. You're carried on with the right methodology for your backlinks, referring domains. Give me a few more minutes. Let me finish off this lovely call, and then we'll have a chat and go through your evil apples. Yeah?
If you keep saying cool,
So don't say the word cool.
Yeah.
What if I say cool again? Or cool?
It's going to list.
Oh, right. Okay.
This is a red mark.
Do you want to take it into the meeting room?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's you told.
So, yeah, so that's basically, you want to look at the more content about making sure the right words are there for what people would search for, and you'll get the relevant results from those.
Yep.
But as I said, this isn't going to be ready for next month. We're not going to be #1 spot in Google. It takes a while. And don't forget, and I say this to everyone else, that your competitors are also doing the same elements. So they're also running their SEO. They're also maybe hiring a team of people or whatever. So you're combating against those, but you want to make sure that you carry on. Perseverance is definitely key for this element. And it could take 1 month, it could take 8 months, whatever it makes. But you'll be moving up those rankings naturally as you kind of keep on top of the content and make sure you keep pushing it forwards.
Yeah, there's no one fix quick solution to it, unfortunately.
No.
So if you do get people going, I will guarantee you page 1 within this set amount of time, ignore it, because it is a huge and very long process, but it is a process that doesn't guarantee results, but it does start to bring those results in.
Yeah. And it's important now, a lot more with obviously the cost of things going up, but also ads are also going up in costs as well. So
just to touch on ads at the moment, LinkedIn is recommending about 4 to 5 ads running at any one time for you to start getting a return. The Facebook, Instagram ads, you're looking at doing a 3-tier approach now, which is 1, the first ad is just for pure awareness to gather data. That is not going to bring you in leads. Then you're to target that again from that data that you've gathered. You're to target that data, and again, it's not guaranteed to bring you leads. And then your third one is again to target that exact same data to hopefully generate leads. So those are the 2 main sort of approaches just now that have been working, but you're going to need quite a bit of money behind you to make them viable.
Yeah, and imagine you could also just have it naturally where you've done your work, you're not paying an ad company or whatever else, and you've done it and you are naturally on page 1 of Google or whatever relevant search engine you utilize, without having to continually pay monthly costs for ad spend and pay-per-clicks.
And we should say that if you're just Googling your name, then you're going to show up, but you're wanting to show up specifically for your services, for the products that you're selling, for the area you service. Because if someone's looking for, say it's gardening, if they're looking for gardening, they will look for gardeners in their area. They won't look for your company name unless they already know of you.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're going to be looking at is what's next. We've done a bit of SEO. We're going to be touching a little bit more throughout SEO. That's pretty much the whole event, and we've touched on kind of Yoast. So what's next on our agenda?
The next one that we will be looking at is the Google Search Console.
Okay. No, sounds good. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is I've already opened up the Google Search Console. We've already opened up Buy Insights Online. Overview is pretty sparse, to be honest, as you would expect for a new site that we've just started working on. There's 2 elements we want to be looking at, really, or 3. These 3 are really, really key that we want to be looking at. One of them is our sitemap. So we ping over the sitemap to Google, and it crawls all of the relevant URLs in said sitemap.
So what would you say in layman's terms a sitemap is?
A sitemap is kind of like I guess it's kind of like on the back of a book, you have a glossary or an index where you can get to the relevant pages fairly quickly. Really, it's a kind of a spider's web about how things are connected and how they all interlink. And really, you're telling Google what those links are yourself, and you tell it, these are all of my pages that I want you to search and I want you to index. Here you go, crack on. Yeah. Okay. So, Google can pick up sites itself naturally because it's doing a lot of indexing, but you're giving it a little bit of a kickstart and saying, these are my pages, just go for it. Here's my structure, just crack on. Okay. Now, what we're going to be looking through is on this one, what our our sitemap looks like. Now, if we head over here, we've got here buyinsightsonline.com/sitemap_index.xml. Sitemap index submitted in 2017. So that was way before we purchased it. So most likely the previous owner. And status couldn't fetch. So this would not fully shock me if there is no real results on Google. It might pop up because Google's naturally found it, but it's not utilizing probably the best structure for what we want it to be. Okay. Additionally, if it was submitted in 2017, Google's probably still got a cache of what those old URL structures are, which are now no longer relevant as it's now our domain. And we'll get to those in a little bit regarding the coverage. All right. So we're going to want to create a sitemap. Now, if we head back over to our system, let me see if I can find. So we'll head over to SEO.
Mm-hmm.
And this will open up the Yoast SEO tool for us. Here we go. We can go over to we'll look at our dashboard, see bits and bobs over here. We've got features, so SEO, insights, etc., etc., etc. We've got integrations. So it's pulled all the integrations here as well. If we use any, we've got webmaster tools if we wanted to connect them in there. Okay. Now, let me remember where I get our sitemap. I think it just creates one for us, Yoast, because it's a jolly nice thing to do. XML sitemaps. Here we go. See the XML sitemap. And there we go. So it's created a sitemap for us in terms of it, and you can go in and it'll give you more in-depth sitemaps for more things. So this is the product sitemap. And now it'll give us a URL structure for every product we've got on our list.
I guess you could say that it goes into like chapters and then pages. If you wanted to continue the book idea.
Yeah, and this is where it now starts to build more of a structure about how that site works. So we can now pop back over and we can put ours in and submit it. Bam, bam, bam. And this will periodically do it. So it's submitted it. It was a success. It's found the XML sitemap. Now this does not go, oh, all your links are ready and it goes on Google. Google will now basically put it into a queue and it'll start to index it over time. Sometimes this is done within 24 hours. Sometimes it takes longer. There's no real way to rush it. I would not suggest keep smashing it into the sitemap URL and pressing submit because I imagine Google just goes like, get gone. So that's the first part that we can do with the sitemap stuff. So I would definitely suggest when you get your site going, whether it's utilizing a web developer company or doing it yourself, get onto Search Console, submit your sitemap, and get it started from there. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to go over to coverage. So these are the URLs that it is already searching. Now, we haven't got any with errors, so that's a nice start. We've not got any with warnings, also great. We've got 31 valid URLs. Indexed but not submitted in the sitemap. So it knows about 31 links itself. We know we've got more than 31 pages. We've got more than 31 products. We've got categories. We've got contact forms. We've got more than 31. So there is definitely pages that are missing from our cache. We've also got 99 URLs that have been excluded from Google search. So now we want to know why are they excluded and what do we need to do? Let me just untick these. We don't care about those now. So we go to the excluded, and we've got 51 pages that have been excluded because it's got a 404. What's a 404, Ailey?
404 is page not found. This means that link is either broken or the page no longer exists.
Exactly. Now, we don't want Google caring about pages that don't exist. Now, there's two options here. Either Google has found that it had a 404 and marked it for exclusion. Okay. However, it might be that now that page does exist, but Google's never going to search for it again. So we need to review those and make the necessary changes. Okay, so we're going to click on those and they'll give us all the URLs that are in there. Now, I definitely don't have any URLs about Schools Incorporated jobs opening in San Antonio. I might be wrong, but I don't. So we don't want this link being even pulled in Google. Now, these could be legacy URLs that was indexed before we purchased the domain. So we want to look at removing these. This is where the next part of our Google tool comes in for removals. So we want to remove this from our system so it doesn't get indexed. So here we go. So at the top, we've also got different ways of removing it. We're going to use temporary removals. Now, although we don't care about this URL, we'll most likely never have this URL ever again anyway. I highly doubt we're going to have one with this URL for our instant shop. But why we're using temporary rather than a permanent one is we are now just telling Google for right now, don't index that site. Don't index that page. When it naturally gets back to the sitemap, it'll know it's not in the sitemap and it won't care about it anyway. However, let's say, for instance, we pull one of these, which currently isn't a page structure, but in the future, we add it to be one, it still won't index it. So we use temporary to just remove it for now. And then when it naturally starts the new index, if it finds it, it'll find it and add it back in. And if it doesn't, then it won't add it. Nice and simple. So we're going to basically put a request in here. We'll enter a URL and we'll submit that one for removal. Now, can you add to the list, Ale?
Yep.
Temporary removals to the list. So this is our to-do list. We've given you the basics of how to do it, but we've got 55 URLs here. I am not copy-pasting them all right now in front of you all because no one wants to watch that.
And some of them might still be relevant.
I imagine none of these are. They look like
I would imagine
URLs,
none,
but yes.
We've also still got the chance there could be.
Exactly. We've got pages with redirects that we might want to look at as well. So some of them we're probably fine with, like these ones are standard page redirects. We could add canonical links on them, so it knows that it's the same link anyway. And we can look at doing those.
What would you say to people who don't understand what a redirect is?
Redirect is, so if you go to a page like this one, /home, it might just redirect you to just .com because the home is also just the .com page. So it's redirecting you. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. A lot of sites use those, but we'll put something called canonical URLs, so it knows that the structure is the same one. But we also might want to remove parts where if you have links on your website and it specifically sends them to /home and then it removes the link, you're adding an additional layer of that process. So you may as well just send them to the / and not the /home because it's the same link. So whatever it's going to turn into, try and use that URL, not the temporary URL. So we've got some that we might want to look at there. We've got soft 404s. We've got crawled, not currently indexed. So it's found them, but it's not indexed them yet. So we've got a few different ones here. We've got feeds, etc., etc. So we might want to look at those. I mean, we didn't have the sites in some of these places, so we might want to remove them. But that's where we'd now start going through and looking at the removal process. Okay. But yeah, that is pretty much Search Console. There's a few other tools. We're not going to go into them in detail today. We're really looking at our key set. So right now, we've got a few things within our list that we're going to be looking at. The first one being our... Oh, Nelly, what's on our list so far?
So on our list so far, we're going to be reviewing page titles and meta descriptions.
Yep.
We're going to be looking at the multiple H1s, so the heading tags that we need to sort. We're going to update the content on the website so it's got a little bit more meat to the bones, shall we say.
Yep.
Then we're going to start adding more blog posts that are going to be specifically with that person, our ideal client's search intent. Then we're going to temporary removals of URLs.
Exactly. Now, all of those things play a vital part within websites. And there's a few other elements we're going to be working on in terms of this site to hopefully give it more traction. We're probably looking at updating the design a little bit for some call to actions and all that part. What we're going to be doing is reviewing some of the tools that we use. So we've already covered in previous videos tools like Matomo. So we can also look at how Matomo or how usage on this site is being dictated through Matomo.
I think Matomo's started becoming our favorite right now.
Yeah, but we can really start to use that as a good tool to find out actually how are people using the site and do we need to still make any modifications from it. We can also do things like similar to like Google Tag Manager, but we can do it through Matomo as well to see if people are clicking on the certain actions that we want them to click on, or if they're following a path that we need them to follow, whether that is to come from a campaign, if we did like an ad campaign, or we did a social media post. It doesn't have to be a paid campaign. If, for instance, so we're also going to be looking at it from a social media perspective to grow this one. So let's say, for instance, we create a Facebook page and Ale starts creating some posts. We can also change the URL instead of just going directly to just to the homepage or to the relevant product, we can add additional parts for campaign URLs, and then it'll also track that, and it'll know that it came from Facebook. And we can say, right, we know that advert is working, and we can use it again, or we can change things around. So there's a lot of things we can do on those for the way it runs. Do we have anything else on our list so far today?
That is all that we have so far.
Excellent. So that's give us a good view of basically how we will start to prepare a site for the first steps of a build. We're going to be also looking at reviewing the keywords that we feel might be prevalent for a search perspective. So whether that is, where can I buy, incense online or whatever else, and we'll start coming up with a list of the right keywords that we might want to track and where we're going to be placing them in the site.
You mentioned keywords, and this comes up a lot, is how do you choose the right keywords?
There's a few different tools. So some of it you'll probably just know naturally because it's just part of your product. Now this one's a very simplistic one because we're only selling a few variations of products. We're not a huge shop that have got products from all over and for different varieties. So our keywords are very much in the realm of incense sticks. They're very much in the realm of incense stick holders, in oil burners, fragranced oils. All those different elements are our key things that people are going to be looking for. It might even be like more search terms, but those are the core words that we're probably going to be focusing on. And we make sure that they are throughout the site. Now, they're pretty much quite a lot anyway, because the products have those things in their name. We want to make sure that the descriptions are really clear about what they are. And if they don't have it in their name, we'll add it if it seems relevant for that specific product.
Yep.
Do not, and I'll say this loosely, do not overuse your keywords. Now, that's quite a hard metric to set. There's a few different tools which will give some analysis if you're overusing them, but there is a term called keyword stuffing, which means that you are, I guess, attempting to not defraud, but trying to sway Google to go to your site. And if it feels that you are doing things like keyword stuffing, you'll end up having more of a negative impact compared to a positive impact, because it looks at it and goes, well, do they have content? It looks like they're throwing keywords in there to hope, rather than actually having the right content for the user. Ultimately, the whole process of this site is to, one, give us a platform where we can show you guys how SEO works, but two, it is ultimately to make sales. So you need to make sure that that site has information that is clear for Google to pick up the right information and the right data, but also clear for your end user, because it's all well and good that you might be the first result on Google, but that doesn't mean you're going to get sales. Because if someone goes to your website and it just says incense burner, incense all over, and that's all it says with no content or no information, people are just going to go, well, I don't know what it is, so I'm just going to go back off. So being first isn't the key metric. It's one of the metrics that's there, but it's the combination of having the information on Google and then being able to convert them going forwards when they get to your site. Do you have the right information to sell it, and is it in a readable format? So yeah, that's pretty much the core parts that we'll be looking at from an SEO perspective. We've got a few different variations that we're going to be reviewing in terms of this. Next month, we'll be coming back to this site as well, and we'll be going through actually what changes have we done. We're going to show you a report that we would generally use for our customers, which will go through in detail what changes we've done, what impact has it changed from a search engines area, what we're going to look at to do next in terms of that, but we'll discuss the next with yourselves on these lives and those elements there. We are also asking if anyone wants their site to have an SEO review. We can also offer it. We do offer it as a paid service, but we'll offer it as a free if we're going to be doing a live with them as well and give them some details. It probably won't go into the exact same depth as a full report, because that can take us days to produce, not an hour, but we'll give you some real high level views of what your site might be lacking. And, you can come on with me and we'll do a live and we can go through your site and discuss what changes might help and support the impacts.
Cool. So we had one more thing to cover, and I think we don't really need to do too much on this one, is technical issues. So you said there's no technical issues on this site, but what in general would you be looking for?
I mean, there probably is technical issues on this site. I'm not going to say it's going to be flawless from this. Because we've not really done a full check. We've pretty much built a site pretty fast. Now, we already know from a glance perspective of this site, there is definitely missing elements. There's nothing about social medias. No, I've just looked at a brief glance now, and we have missing alt text on images. So those things need to be done. Pages, some of them can be quite slow to load, so we need to review those. Meta descriptions we've already discussed, and that's part of the technical aspects. All those parts form a real vital part within the technical SEO elements. So we're looking at all those parts, which will increase speed, it'll increase content, and it'll increase usability and crawlability for search engines.
And would you say that some of these technical things are also down to design as well? So like the design of the site might need to be reviewed?
Yeah, so there's kind of a mixture between, there's a lot of crossover with a lot of the different elements of SEO, whether that is what's classified as on-page SEO and technical SEO. So there is crossovers, particularly things like mobile usability. So we've not seen what this site, if people don't know, you can easily see what a site looks like on mobile from your PC without having to open up the website on your phone. So we can do that over here. Let me open up the website again. Here we go. So we'll go for a. This is what the website looks on a mobile phone. So we've got elements like these images aren't the same size, so it looks slightly odd. All the text fits in. There's no scrolling left and right. The menus look a bit weird.
Yeah, we need that.
Yeah, menus look a bit weird, and I wouldn't suggest doing it that way on a, not under it on a mobile. So there's elements that need to be checked from a, I guess a technical and an on-page SEO perspective. We can also flip it and see what it will look like on a landscape mobile phone, and we can also see what it looks like on things like an iPad. All that is just by pressing the relevant buttons and changing it as well. So yeah, I think there's definitely parts that need to be reviewed and changed from a technical perspective. Things that we'll probably look up on our next one when we go through it in more detail, and we'll look at some more. We'll probably drum together a baseline SEO report, which is what we usually do for our clients anyway, and give them an idea about what's going to be next, and we can go through it as a step-by-step process and give people an idea about how we would do the next elements.
Indeed. So that has been pretty much the start of an SEO journey of a website.
Mm-hmm.
We could go into a lot more detail, but this is just to give you a general overview. Next month, you can follow us for more interesting bits and pieces and see what we do to transform this website.
Yeah, I think what we'll do as well is on our YouTube channel, we'll put this in its own separated playlist as well. And we'll have it where you've got a step-by-step journey just of this process. So if anyone wants to look at it, you can go to our YouTube and go through the playlist as well, or just follow the rest of the content that we get through these lives.
Yeah. And remember, we do lives every Thursday at 11 o'clock, where you can come and talk to us about any problems that you're having. You can ask us any questions, and we will just generally talk and ask generalized questions about SEO, websites, and content creation.
Yep. Sounds great. Right. So I guess we will see everyone again next Thursday.
Yep. See you all next Thursday. And remember, if you are looking for websites, SEO, or content creation services, come and chat to us.
Bye.